Here to join us in just a few moments. We have a single topic for our meeting this evening. We're going to be hearing from Superintendent Franco, her goals for the 2013-2014 school year. So, Superintendent Franco, if you could walk us through your submission here.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Martin. This is going to be projected. There was just a technical difficulty. The TV studio put up the past a year. So let's look at this. I'm just going to go over where all of these thoughts come from, and it's based on the data. And as you can see on the opening page of the document, right way back in 2012, when I began as superintendent of Lowell schools, we looked strategically at what the district needed to do to make the best gains. And so we knew that we have got to share the leadership. We all have an important role with young people. If you are at every level of our organization, from school committee member to every working employee, that we work to build shared leadership. And so that's an important piece. We also took into consideration in establishing these goals the feedback from the evaluation that was just completed recently, the superintendent's evaluation. And so we have added two goals, one specifically looking at parent engagement and publicizing how we work with parents in a much more meaningful way, and also looking at particularly at attendance. So I'll get into those as we proceed. You know what? I couldn't even run a film strip in the classroom, so every time this happens, it's this little arrow. So Mr. Lang, my able assistant, it's last year's again? See, that's the issue. So there's some technical difficulty. So I'm going to go into, and talking without the visuals difficult, but the committee does have it in front of them. And so, last year, goal one was building professional practice. My building a professional practice was a lot of hard work on the part of everybody on the school committee, as well as all the teachers, administrators. It was negotiation pieces. It was getting to formulate the educator evaluation. And so since last year, this time, we have evaluated that consistently, and we have implemented and negotiated the educator evaluation piece. So that's part of it. But before you can even do that, that first goal is building the professional practice of all of our leaders to make sure that we are supporting the work consistently across the district. So goal one did exist last year, but it's even deepened. What is proficiency? How do teachers know what proficiency is? How can we, in fact, make sure everybody is able to reach proficiency with the right support? And so we are working consistently at a plan of training, which includes all of our leaders at all levels of the organization, and combined work that goes back through our release time, thanks to the school committee that we have on a monthly basis, that we bring back work together. As of right now, we are right in the midst, and I did a report the last meeting on where we are in the process, but everybody's done their goals, and we're working on the supervision evaluation piece at this particular time. You will see in the difference in this goal is that we have TeachPoint. We're using a technological system for that, and we are increasing unannounced visits. We're keeping data on a regular basis right after visits. That's my job when I'm going to schools. I'm making sure I do that. The other very important piece you're going to see totally intertwined in all of these goals is a critical use of data and reporting it regularly. That means at the schools, with teachers, and also to this committee. So at the curriculum subcommittee meeting, you'll see that we will go over data a few times a year. So that is the first goal, and I'll ask for questions as we go. Second one is, again, the continued implementation, empowering teachers and administrators to focus on areas of growth. The theory of action being, if we all support effectively to implement SMART goals and connect our district goals to educator professional learning, then in fact the entire district will improve and student outcomes will improve. So we're looking at that whole focus on educator evaluation. How do you make sure you're growing? What does each standard mean? That's the work that we're doing this particular year. You will see that I'm keeping for evidence for you all what we're doing on release days, what evidence we have of the evaluation process, the newsletters we send out. I know that this committee receives a weekly administrative update which talks about the news, the teaching and learning news of the district that we continue, but we also are bringing the key points right back to the teachers on a regular basis, so there's consistency. The most important part, and this is a teacher's perspective, is my evaluation the same quality, at the same standard in any single school where in fact we may be. And that's what this particular goal is about. What is the evaluation? How is it clear? And how do we know if we need to improve and what to do if in fact that's the case? So that's the second goal. The third goal is the new goal for this particular year. We have always had family and community engagement goals, but I really wanted to bring it up to the level of the superintendent. And so for family and community engagement, we are looking at how, in fact, we've included families in two-way communication. In the educator evaluation piece, one of the important family goals, standard 3 goals, family, is two-way communication. It's very easy when we're sending messages home, but when we're not communicating back and forth, that's always where we need to look as a district. And so you're going to see a few new forums. We're not going to make this up without surveying, getting information from parents, trying to diversify our communication by conducting surveys and outreach in different languages to really see what do parents really want and need. You will see tonight, there's a report on the first big movement, which is we're going to be having parent learning workshops every month held at the Butler School for 1 hour, and we'll talk about that, but that we're going to have different aspects of interest the parents have told us over the years. We're going to update the use of Facebook, Twitter. We're going to try and use video in a much more effective way. That's to increase the knowledge base of all of our parents, but also what is the Lowell Public Schools, what do we stand for, more public relation focus. And so that's what Goal 3 is about overall at that particular point. As far as the committee knowing about this, I know that across the district we send home newsletters many different times, but we do not have a place where we keep what district things are going on, and there are many. Early childhood might have their things. Student support services might have theirs. We're going to then, in fact, get a overview of what's going on as a district that will then, in fact, become part of the website and then also through the other social media areas where parents connect to. So I know that's a lot of information. Are there any questions at this particular point, or should I go through Ms. Martin and wait?
I would ask one question just on this specific goal. Could you give me a sense of how you're determining your baseline? I'm really appreciative. Oh, there you go. I am, obviously a strong fan of concrete measures within the evidence area. So looking at a 10% increase, I think that's a legit number. I think if we could see that in a year, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. But I just want to have a better understanding of how we're determining our baseline so that we can even determine our success in this area.
That's an excellent question. So I'm looking at the responses from a few critical, actually core functions of the school district over time. So the responses of the Title I parent involvement, that beginning of year kind of survey. I'm looking at, we're going to be doing some TELS data in the middle of the year. Part of that is parents comparing that to the last time we did that. I'm also going to be looking at participation in sessions we've had, district-wide sessions. 10% of doing better in those forums is not going to be that impressive. So I think we'll have to aim a little higher. But for instance, I'll give you an example. Citywide Parent Council that was renewed this year had 2 members. Last time they had 9, but now it's going to be backed up after the citywide kind of parent thing, so we're really looking at trying to build. So my baseline data, to be honest with you, is not going to be overly impressive, but I will come out with what that data looks like, and I'm going to take a little combination. We do get decent response for the school. from the schools, but the baseline data we'll have to look at. And I think that maybe we'll just publish something at the beginning level to kind of see where we think we are. So there will be something we can judge it on. But I was thinking of a combination of all of those vehicles. So I don't know if that answers, but those are the key, that's the information we have now.
Okay.
That we
Well,
could
that's
break up.
helpful.
Yeah.
I'll just say that if we could get, as you go through this process, maybe at some point in January, you could present to the subcommittee, the full committee, whichever, the draft of what you see as the kind of data points that you want to be included in this, just so we know what we'll be grading on.
Okay.
And I think that would be certainly helpful at the beginning rather than
Great.
at the end when we're looking at the numbers. Thank you. I'm sorry, we can continue.
That's good.
Goal,
No, I had the same question, so, no, that was it, just the measurability piece. So the baseline would be a good place to start.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so goal 4?
So this is a goal that you are quite familiar with, and before we go any further, these are the signature goals from each department. There are, of course, as each one of the assistant superintendents report to me, a number of other things they're working on, but I asked them to bring forward the goals that really impact the district as a whole and the big picture core issues that we have. So this is one you're quite familiar with. This is the work that's going on with the 10-year plan, the capital plan for the Lowell Public Schools, out of the Office of Management and Operations. And so the assessment of Lowell Public Schools facilities, what's going on over the 10 years, the goals, the priorities, demographic and enrollment projections, and in just that whole long-range plan, and how, in fact, we're going to submit the statement of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So that is something for now, but especially for the future, that you are pretty well informed about, since we've been currently looking at that. So as we go into Goal 5. Goal 5 is the curriculum student achievement goal, and so it has 2 pieces to it. So if we strategically study school progress, to continue to provide a focused system of support to the lowest level 3 schools and improve academic achievement by developing our internal capacity of the district and school teams, we will improve student achievement. So there's a couple of things that we're working on. This is student achievement for all students. So as this committee knows, we have been looking specifically at the schools and their root causes for need for improvement. That work will continue. There are district teams that are working in all of the schools to make sure that we raise the achievement for all of our young people. At the same time, we know we have to do more for enrichment. So there are 2 pieces to this. The first piece being how we facilitate student achievement, how we use data strategically, how the district's assessment calendar is releasing data at critical times in the year where everybody's looking at it, and it's causing us for mid-course correction, how we're improving instruction as we go. So that is a critical part of our work. As you will be able to see, as we move everybody towards level 2 and 1 status, which is the goal of the district, we will be using information such as the improvement, all the data we collect. There is TELS data that's going to be done in January. That was a Race to the Top initiative conducted, I believe, 2 years ago. It's a follow-up, so there'll be comparative data of school culture in there that we've been working on. We're specifically looking at our needs of improvement that were articulated in the MCAS studies in grades 5 and 7 and 10 mathematics, and how we're working strategically with those grade levels. We will provide agendas from district support team, and the assessment calendar will be completed. As this is very, very labor-intensive work, Ms. Abrams and I have planned for us to keep an ongoing progress report at the curriculum subcommittee. So for Ms. Martin, who is now the chair of the curriculum subcommittee, at one of the monthly meetings, we will look at that January data. What are we doing? How are we doing? What's going on in mathematics? Where do we need to improve, and et cetera. So to really make that real-time data something that we're looking at, instead of just waiting until year end, that we can connect that to progress. If you look at the next page, it really is looking at the enrichment pieces, improving student achievement through targeted interventions, enrichment programs, knowledge bowl, science, STEM teams, science fairs, math tournaments, civics day. So upping the interesting content through in fact making sure that all of those initiatives that we've been planning and implementing are successful and making a difference, especially with children who need to improve even on the higher end, all children, but in that particular case. So that's part of it. Additionally, this is before budget season, but as you know, we're in 14 already. So we're already looking at what kind of other opportunities can we create for young people. So what kind of other interventions, what can we look at for adding to the specials? Should we have more science involved? All of those are part of the planning, but specifically making sure that those initiatives that's been supported by this committee really are featured and improve especially the proficient and advanced, but all students. So that's a real focus for the curriculum department as well. The continued work on alternative programs is very exciting. And so goal 6 for the district is narrowing the achievement and growth for high needs student populations, and this impacts dropout rate. We have improved the dropout rate over the last a couple of years, but what we're looking at is making sure that the 45 to 90 day, that is the transitional programs, the Cardinal O'Connell program, and the Malloy School transitional, not really the Career Academy part, is enhanced so the children have a short-term alternative that adds for them to improve and then get back to their studies. We want to reassess the short-term program. We did much more work with creating the Malloy for a longer-term alternative program, but the next step is to make sure the short-term program is strengthened even more. It is our vision that every middle school, especially at high school, needs to have a long-term program for children who need another alternative kind of setting that is long-term. However, there are lots of young people who need a respite of 45 to 90 days, and we would like to look strategically at those programs, and that's what the focus of this particular goal is. So as you look at the evidence, we'll look at the career readiness internships for children, which there is a goal. There are 3 grants that are being written right now about concerning internships, more support, and more vocational opportunities for young people. And looking at what we've learned with the Career Academy and across the district, the PBIS that this committee has known about for the last year anyway, positive behavioral interventions and supports, has been really restructuring what the face of that long-term Malloy school looks like, and other schools that have bought into that. So we're looking at the positive intervention piece as a cornerstone for our entire district. Hopefully these grants are going to help us to be able to afford it as a core behavioral kind of system. So I know that's part of the work. So we'll be looking at the dropout and failure rate as an indicator from the baseline. We'll also look at the attendance rate in general. And that particular piece is critical. We're also looking at the overall failure rate in middle schools to make sure that that improves. And so that's part of that particular goal. If you look at the final goal, goal 7, that's attendance. And so Lowell Public Schools for a number of years holds very, very competitive attendance rates to other like districts, but it's never good enough. So if a child is not in school, they're not going to make the progress. So the final goal that you'll see today, as far as from my level of the organization, is if we're looking nationally, how we develop collaborative structures to make sure that the children improve in attendance and reduce failure rates due to poor attendance, and then we decrease the dropout rate. So you will see that we're looking at improving attendance with social workers and guidance counselors. The goals, the actual evaluation goals of the guidance counselors and social workers are attendance-related and outcome-related. So they're looking at improving the attendance rate in every single school that then will impact the district. So that is it's tied to their evaluation piece. That's what they chose to look at as a system. Also, Dropout Prevention Task Force will be looking at specific needs, and school-based teams that come in with the DESE dropout prevention work, we will really formalize that more. We have district teams, but we want to add more school-based people to the district teams. And again, having attendance teams and revised structures show minimal success. I have to tell you that the second, actually, on your page, when you look at action steps, the third one is very exciting for me because one of the underlying goals of that particular action step is to look at families or children, groups of children who have for years been underserved by not attending school, and what kind of interventions have to happen on a larger level, like with the entire family and giving the support systems. So this is looking at attendance in a really very detailed way to get our attendance rate up to another level. So if you look at the evidence, you'll see the district-wide attendance goals that have been developed already. You will look at the intervention practices, so there'll be evaluation of what we're doing already. We will have the analysis of the intervention practices by December. We will have the task force in place by January. We will have an intervention plan by April, and we will have meeting protocol by June, and then all the way down the line, we'll be looking to get from a 93.7 attendance rate up a point to 94.7 with the strategic look. And the dropout rate, again, will decrease by 0.35, which was our overall goal when we looked at goals for 2017 when we first met at this level, that we would have to decrease the dropout rate by 0.35 to meet the overall goal over 5 years. So lots of information, my friends, as usual. So I ask you if there are any questions, concerns, information you might want from me as we process this.
I just have a couple quick ones. I do appreciate, particularly on Goal 7, moving forward with this task force, and I think it is, I think it's ambitious to have April as our deadline for implementation, but I think that's very wise. It's an area that we need to pay attention to. If we could cycle back a little bit to Goal 5, I just had a question on the fourth evidence offered. Improve student growth performance as indicated by quarterly formative assessment data. I'm wondering if we would be able to put a number on that. I mean, it seems like that's a category of evidence that would lend itself to a real concrete number. So again, perhaps when we talk about the baseline for the parent attendance, we could also include in that report back to the subcommittee what you'd recommend for that as a hardcore number that we can watch over time. I'd appreciate that. Any other questions, concerns? Come on. Okay. So this was our a single topic for the subcommittee meeting. I would, if there are no other questions, entertain a motion to adjourn by Mr. Conway, just in the nick of time, and seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor say aye.